The news has a different vibe to it these days. I feel like when I was a kid I would turn on the news and it would be like, in today's news, the money bonds 0.4, but the banks says the government. Now it's like, welcome to the news. The DTNW party have won election in Austria. We are not racist, said the DTNW, which stands for Death to Non-Whites. Now over to Jennifer, who's in a fireball. Jennifer? Some people argue that because politics has become a lot scarier and crazier, you can't satirise it anymore. They say things like, why read The Onion when you can just read a regular newspaper? Trump has set the National Guard on some immigration protesters. Well, society is truly beyond parody. And they always have that face where it looks like their underparts are being caressed with an ice cube. But it's not, is it? You can still imagine an exaggerated version of that scenario that would be more absurd and therefore maybe vaguely comic. Like Donald Trump calls in the National Guard to deal with two dads having an argument about football. See? Piece of piss. There's my BBC show. But I do think satire has some challenges in 2025, which I will tell you about right after the end of this sentence. The real problem for political comedy in 2025 is how it's distributed. 20 years ago, the main place you would see satire was on TV, and there weren't really any alternatives. You didn't have a smartphone or an iPad, so you just had to watch what was on or experience something truly terrible, like a thought or a conversation with a loved one. That meant people saw stuff that they didn't necessarily agree with or didn't fit with their worldview. Spitting Image was seen by people who liked Margaret Thatcher. The Big Bang Theory was seen by people who liked comedy. There was a chance then for satire to change people's minds, or at least make them consider an alternative point of view. But these days, most comedy is consumed via the algorithmically personalised slop waterfall TM. Basically, an evil robot that knows me better than my partner feeds me videos of stuff I agree with so that I don't get spooked and consider blinking. All the satire I see is aimed at people exactly like me. You've probably only been shown this video if you're also a grumpy British man who looks like a 17-year-old that's been alive for 50 years. And it's not your fault. Breaking out of your echo chamber's really hard. If I Google Hitler speech supercut, it comes back with, did you mean photo of Bernie Sanders kissing an orphan gently on the forehead? So any satire I see isn't going to change my opinion, it's just going to strengthen it. Which means I'm not going to vote for someone different, I'm just going to put the X in the box with a bit more force, which, according to my Freedom of Information request, doesn't count double. Admittedly, there are still some occasions where you might see content outside of your bespoke consensus grotto. Some sketches break out into the mainstream, or you might go to a stand-up night. The problem is we're so used to being fed warm agreement mush that we can't really handle it when we see something that doesn't confirm our beliefs. Take the Johnny Depp Amber Heard SNL sketch from 2022. It wasn't even pro either side, it was sort of sheepishly neutral. But because millions of men had been relentlessly told by TikTok that Amber was a hysterical, menstruating antichrist, they were basically affronted that the sketch wasn't just people spitting on an effigy of her corpse for 3 hours straight. Being a left-wing snowflake, I'm no different. If I see content that in any way suggests Greta Thunberg is a flawed human being, I panic and throw a shoe at my own face. Because we all occupy such different spaces online, we've become polarised not just in terms of politics, but in terms of reality. Take the January 6th riots in America. Half their population thinks it was a violent attempted coup. The other half thinks it was some brave patriots attempting to peacefully negotiate their way into a building using the power of mass hugging, before kindly offering neck warmers to the people inside. So if you're a stand-up, how do you do a joke about that even reads as a joke to both sides of that audience? If there's no universal truth, there's no universal humour. Your only option is to sit on a whoopee cushion. And it can't be long before half the population starts describing those as mind-control gas pillows. Despite literally everything I've said, I don't think satire is pointless in 2025. If you write a comedy sketch, you're probably not going to make a neo-Nazi swap their planned weekend lynching for a table tennis tournament, and that's okay. Most likely you'll be preaching to the converted, but maybe that isn't totally futile. You might make someone more politically engaged. They might join a protest or challenge someone's opinion. Also, it might just keep people on your side sane. Politics is really upsetting right now, and no one's that happy on either side. The left are worried about rising fascism, and the right are worried about Greta Thunberg virtue signalling. What the fuck? No one's enjoying themselves, so maybe making a comedy sketch that says, yeah, it's all a bit terrifying, isn't it, is worth something, because it reminds you that there are people out there experiencing the same thing. We can't stop making political comedy as soon as it becomes more challenging, because then maybe the real joke is the satirist. Ooh, that's cold.